October 25th, 1944, 06:45 hours. Off the coast of Samar, Philippines, the morning sky is gray, streaked with rain and smoke. The sea churns with a restless wind as sailors aboard the USS Johnston, DD 557, squint toward the horizon. What they see stops every heartbeat cold. On the line where the sky meets the ocean, faint at first, then unmistakable, the silhouettes of battleships rise like mountains out of the mist. The Imperial Japanese Navy's center force, commanded by Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita, is charging straight toward them. 11 destroyers, 8 cruisers, 4 battleships, including Yamato, the largest warship ever built. Each could hurl shells the size of small cars across miles of ocean. And standing in their way, a ragtag American escort group, 6 slow escort carriers and 7 screening ships, codenamed Taffy 3. On the bridge of the Johnston, Commander Ernest E. Evans watches through his binoculars. He doesn't need to be told the odds. His ship, a 2,100-ton Fletcher-class destroyer, is fast and maneuverable, but lightly armored. He turns to his crew. "Gentlemen," he says, his voice calm, "a large Japanese fleet is closing in. This will be a fight against overwhelming odds. We'll do what damage we can." Then louder, "General quarters, all hands to battle stations." Klaxons blare. Men sprint to their posts. Ammunition hoists whine. Torpedo crews ready their tubes, and the 5-inch guns begin to elevate toward the enemy fleet, now looming out of the mist. Evans stands steady as spray lashes his face. He knows what he's about to do, and he knows what it will cost. He grips the railing and mutters, "We'll go in. We've got to make them shoot at us and not the carriers." At flank speed, the Johnston surges forward, alone. Behind her, small carrier decks fill with frantic activity. Pilots scramble into cockpits, Avengers and Wildcats roar into the air, some without full fuel or ammunition loads, desperate to stall the advancing armada. The sea shudders as Yamato fires her first salvo, a shockwave rippling for miles. The water around Johnston erupts in towering columns. Evans doesn't blink. "Commence firing!" The forward 5-inch guns thunder. The Johnston shells arc across the gray distance, slamming into the lead Japanese cruiser, Kumano. One shell punches through the bow, blowing it open. Kumano veers out of formation, smoke trailing behind. For a moment, disbelief, then cheers. Against all logic, a lone destroyer has wounded a cruiser 10 times its size. But now the giants are turning their guns. Incoming fire rains down like steel rain. One shell explodes near the bridge. Shrapnel cuts across the deck. Evans is wounded, but unfazed. He wipes the blood from his face and gives the order. "All engines ahead full. Prepare to launch torpedoes. We're going in." As the Johnston races toward the enemy line, other ships of Taffy 3 watch in awe. "This is the Johnston," a voice crackles over the radio. "Engaging the enemy!" And she disappears into the smoke and fire.
The sea is chaos, a maelstrom of foam, flame, and thunder. The Johnston darts through the waves at 34 knots, weaving between towering geysers of exploding shells. Each near miss sends walls of seawater crashing over her decks. Below deck, firemen and engineers fight to keep the turbines roaring. The heat is unbearable, the air thick with oil and smoke. Above, gunners track the approaching fleet. Japanese battleships now clearly visible, their massive turrets slowly rotating. Enemy range closing, 10,000 yards. Evans' jaw tightens. "Stand by torpedoes." The Johnston swings hard to port, closing fast on the heavy cruiser Kunoma. At 10,000 yards, Evans gives the order. "Fire 1, fire 2, fire 3, fire 4, fire 5." 5 long white wakes streak out from Johnston's side, cutting through the gray sea. Moments later, An eruption. A torpedo smashes into Konoma's bow. The explosion rips through steel and fire. Her speed drops instantly. The cruiser staggers out of formation. Cheers echo across Johnston's bridge. Evans turns his destroyer to face a new target, a battleship now closing in, shells crashing around them. But now the enemy's focus shifts. The Japanese fleet, stunned by the audacity of this single ship, begins turning its guns toward the Johnston. A storm of fire descends. The destroyer shudders under multiple hits. A shell penetrates near the forward engine room. Electrical systems flicker. Another strikes the aft deck, killing several men instantly. Smoke and flame envelop the aft section. But still, the Duns keep firing. Evans, bleeding and bandaged, refuses to leave the bridge. He shouts, "Keep those guns hot!" The aft 5-inch mount is now manually operated. Its power cut. Sailors swing the gun by hand, muscles straining as they reload shell after shell. Every minute bought by Johnston gives the escort carriers precious time to launch more aircraft. Overhead, Taffy 3's small planes begin their attack runs, diving through anti-aircraft fire, dropping depth charges and machine gunning decks. Many are unarmed, bluffing with mock runs just to draw fire. But down on the sea, the Johnston takes the brunt of it. A shell smashes into the superstructure, knocking out radar and communications. The bridge is wrecked. Evans is thrown against a bulkhead. Still, he stands. "Tell the gunnery officer," he says through blood and smoke, "to keep firing as long as the guns can bear." The destroyer, crippled and ablaze, still presses forward, weaving between splashes and explosions like a wounded animal that refuses to fall. And the Japanese fleet, now disoriented and confused by the ferocity of the American counterattack, begins to falter. But the Johnston's luck is running out. Her speed drops. Steering becomes sluggish. Evans looks out toward the carriers she was protecting, still afloat, still launching planes. For now, it's working, but the next wave is coming, and the Johnston is alone.
0940 hours. The battle rages across 60 square miles of ocean. The air is thick with cordite, smoke, and the screams of ricocheting shells. The Johnston is now listing slightly to port, her decks slick with oil and blood. Crewmen drag the wounded below, stepping over shattered steel. On the horizon, another American destroyer, USS Hull, makes her own suicidal charge. Beside her, the smaller Samuel B. Roberts races in, guns blazing. 3 American destroyers, 3 tiny ships, now form a living wall between Taffy 3 and the full power of the Japanese fleet. Evans radios the others. "We're with you. Let's go get 'em." They turn together, charging into the firestorm. The sky flashes white as battleships and cruisers unleash their broadsides. Yamato fires again. Her main guns thunder like the voice of God. Each shell slams into the sea, throwing up fountains higher than a skyscraper. One shell tears through Johnston's aft section, wrecking her engines. Power dies. The ship shudders to a stop. Inside the engine room, men fight in darkness, choking on smoke. Some are burned alive when steam lines burst. Others claw their way up ladders to daylight. Above, Evans gives the order to shift to hand steering. The crew works frantically to restore control. Somehow, the ship responds. Slowly, painfully, she turns back toward the enemy. The Johnston's guns, though few still operational, continue to bark defiantly. They fire at anything within range: destroyers, cruisers, battleships. Each shot is an act of defiance. Evans' voice crackles through the intercom. "Give it everything you've got. This is for the carriers. This is for the fleet." The Japanese formation is now in disarray. Smoke from burning ships fills the horizon. Some cruisers have turned away, uncertain if they're facing a full battle group or just ghosts in the fog. A Japanese shell smashes into Johnston's bridge. Splinters of metal slice through Evans' uniform. His left hand is nearly torn away. He refuses medical attention. Instead, he limps to the deck railing and calls out, "Keep fighting, damn it! Keep firing!" Down below, ammunition runs low. Men haul shells by hand from damaged lockers. The barrels of the guns glow cherry red. For 3 hours, the Johnston trades blows with an entire fleet. Then finally, silence. The guns click empty. The torpedo tubes are spent. Evans looks out over the sea, smoke, flame, chaos, and knows what comes next. The Japanese destroyers are closing in, and his ship has nothing left to throw.
10:25 hours. The Johnston is dead in the water, her engines silent, her hull riddled with holes. Fires rage uncontrolled below decks. The Japanese destroyer Yukikaze and several cruisers move in for the kill. The surviving crewmen keep manning their stations. Gunners still pull triggers, even when their ammo is gone, firing empty chambers out of pure defiance. Evans gives the final order, "Abandon ship," but few want to leave. They fought too long, too hard. The sea around the Johnston burns with oil and debris. Lifeboats are launched, some catching fire as they hit the water. On the bridge, Evans stays behind. Witnesses later said he was last seen, standing amid the wreckage, one arm bandaged to his side, shouting orders through the smoke. The Japanese guns fall silent for a moment. Some of their officers, watching through binoculars, can't believe what they've seen. One destroyer taking on an entire fleet and nearly breaking it apart. Then, a final shell strikes amidships. The explosion tears through the hull. The Johnston begins to roll to port. Sailors leap into the water, clinging to debris as the ship lists heavily. Amid the chaos, someone yells, "She's still firing!" And unbelievably, she is. The aft gun, manned by a handful of survivors, keeps spitting shells even as the water climbs over the deck. One last burst of flame, one last echo of defiance. Then, at 10:10 hours, the USS Johnston slips beneath the waves. Her flag is still flying.
The survivors drift for hours, some for days. The sun beats down mercilessly. Many are wounded, burned, half delirious. When rescue finally arrives, only 141 men of Johnston's crew remain alive. 186 are gone, including Commander Ernest E. Evans. He is never found. In the official report, one sailor wrote, "He was the bravest man I ever saw. He didn't give an order he wasn't willing to carry out himself." For his valor, Commander Evans was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, the first Native American naval officer to receive it. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty." But beyond medals and reports, what remains is the legend. When Japanese officers were interrogated after the war, several admitted they believed they had been fighting a full American task force, not a few destroyers and escort carriers. The ferocity of the defense at Samar convinced them they had stumbled into a trap. And so, Admiral Kurita, uncertain and shaken, made one of the most fateful decisions of the Pacific War. He turned his fleet around. The Japanese retreat. The American invasion at Leyte continues unchallenged. The Philippines are retaken. And the destroyer that refused to sink, the USS Johnston, becomes a symbol of courage beyond reason. In 2019, explorers located her wreck nearly 21,000 feet below the surface, one of the deepest ever found. Her guns still pointed toward the enemy. Even now, 80 years later, Her story echoes like a heartbeat through history. One ship, one commander, 200 men, and a simple, unbreakable idea that sometimes the measure of victory isn't survival. It's standing your ground when no one else would.